Friday, 6:18 p.m. The lobby of Varnum Medical Systems still smelled like funeral flowers and fresh paint, the two aromas companies use when they want you to believe they're moving forward. There was a portrait of her father on the wall by the elevators. Not a big one, not dramatic. Just the kind of framed smile you put up when you want to remind people who built the place, even if the man's heart stopped 5 days ago in a quiet room nobody was allowed to see. Calla walked past that portrait without looking. She came out of the executive corridor like she'd been born in glass and keycards. Hair perfect in that careless way that takes time. Blazer tailored, grief tailored too. The black wasn't mourning. It was branding. Behind her, Briggs Lorne followed half a step back, close enough to be intentional. He wore that relaxed confidence men wear when they've decided the world is a hotel and they're always upgraded. If he had a conscience, he kept it in a different suit. And then there was Dale Mercer, security. Thick neck, calm eyes, the kind of man who says sir while he's taking your life apart. 4 people. 4 corners of a room. The whole universe reduced to an HR meeting with better lighting. Calla didn't sit. She didn't offer coffee. She didn't do the fake empathy warm-up. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Evan, she said, like my name was a formality she'd already signed. We're ending your employment with VMS effective immediately. I blinked once, slow, like I was trying to keep my nervous system from doing something embarrassing. Okay, I said. My voice came out quiet, almost polite. Why? Calla's eyes flicked to Briggs for a fraction of a second. Not a look you give a coworker, not even a look you give a friend. It was a check-in. Are we good? Look. Then she looked back at me and delivered the sentence she'd rehearsed into a mirror. Restructuring. I waited. That word is a hallway. People throw it at you and hope you get lost walking down it. Restructuring, I repeated. 4 days after your father dies, and I'm the restructure. Briggs smiled like he'd just seen a toddler try to lift a barbell. Companies evolve, he said, in the voice of a man who'd never been on the wrong side of an evolution. It's not personal. That made me want to laugh because the lie was so clean and so lazy. I glanced at Calla's left hand. Her ring was there, still on, but it had rotated inward so the stone faced her palm. People do that when they're about to do something they don't want to feel, or when they're hiding a scratch. Not personal, I echoed. Right. Calla's jaw tightened. For a second, the mask slipped, and I saw the woman I married, the one who used to cry in grocery store parking lots when she saw a lost dog poster. Then it was gone. CEO Calla came back online. You'll receive your separation documents by end of day, she said. HR will coordinate. I looked around the room. No HR. Of course not. HR was the part of the story that made it look legal. This was the part where they made it quick. Who made this call? I asked. You? Calla's eyes didn't move, but her throat did. A swallow she couldn't control. As CEO, she said, I'm authorized to make personnel changes. There it was. As CEO. 4 words that tasted like someone else's blood. Her father's chair was still warm, and she was already using it like a weapon. I leaned back in my seat and let a beat stretch. Congratulations, I said. I didn't realize grief came with a promotion package. Briggs let out a small breath through his nose. A laugh, almost, like I was entertaining him. Calla didn't flinch. She was trying very hard not to be the villain in her own story. This isn't a conversation, she said. It's a notification. Funny, I replied. That's exactly how it feels to get cheated on too. Silence snapped into place. Dale Mercer's eyes shifted, not surprised, not shocked, just cataloging. He was watching for motion. He didn't care about truth. He cared about liability. Calla's expression froze. Briggs's smile sharpened, like I'd finally said something he could use. Calla lowered her voice, and that's when I knew it was bad. When she talked softly, it wasn't kindness. It was control. "Be careful," she said. "People are grieving. Don't make this ugly." I stared at her, the audacity of using her father's passing as a shield while she struck anyway. "Ugly?" I repeated. "Calla, you fired your husband 4 days after your dad passed away, and you want me to worry about aesthetics." Briggs stepped forward, hands open, the human version of a press release. "Evan," he said gently, "you don't want to do this here. You're emotional. Let's keep things respectful." I looked at him and tried to figure out what he actually was. Consultant? Lover? Parasite? The kind of man who wears other people's lives like cologne? I kept my voice calm, because that's what scares people more than yelling. "You're very comfortable speaking in my marriage," I said. "How long have you been practicing?" His eyes flashed. Quick anger, then he smoothed it over with charm, always charm, like a bandage over rot. Calla's phone buzzed on the table. I didn't mean to look, I just noticed. Noticing is my worst habit and my only talent. The screen lit up. One letter in the preview, B, and underneath it, a calendar reminder, donor suite, 7:00 p.m. Calla flipped the phone face down so fast it might as well have been a confession. Briggs's gaze flicked to the phone too. He didn't have to read it. He just had to see her panic. My stomach went cold in a quiet, familiar way. Not because I discovered something new, because I discovered how little she cared if I discovered it. "Dale," Calla said, and she didn't look at me when she said it. "Please escort Evan out." Dale stepped closer with that professional calm. He didn't touch me yet. He gave me the option of dignity the way bouncers do. Fake choice, but still a choice. "Sir," he said, "if you'll come with me." I stood, slow. Not because I was scared of him, because I didn't want to give them a single frame of video where I looked unstable. No raised voice, no sudden movement, no scene. I looked at Calla one more time. "Do you even have a reason?" I asked. "Or did he just tell you to cut me loose like a bad appendage?" Her eyes flicked to Briggs again. That check-in look. She didn't answer. That was my answer. The elevator ride down felt longer than it should have. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like insects. My reflection in the mirrored wall looked like a man in the middle of being erased. Briggs didn't come with us. Of course he didn't. Kings don't walk you to the gate. They send guards. When the elevator doors opened to the parking deck level, the air hit me damp and metallic. Rain had been misting all day, turning concrete into a cold sponge. Everything smelled like wet stone and old gasoline. My car sat in the vendor lane where I always parked, because I was always not quite executive, close enough to serve, not close enough to matter. Dale walked me to the security arm at the exit, like I was a delivery that needed to leave. I held my badge up to the reader out of muscle memory. Beep. Red light. Denied. For a moment, I just stared at it. The way you stare at a door in your own house that someone suddenly decided you don't own. Dale watched my face. He didn't gloat. He didn't smile. He just waited for me to do something stupid. I swallowed. My heart was thudding, but my hands were steady. I was proud of my hands. They didn't betray me. I reached into my pocket, pulled my car keys instead, and clicked unlock. The security arm stayed down, a dumb piece of plastic and metal telling me I wasn't allowed to leave the life I'd built unless someone permitted it. "Need me to open it?" Dale asked, voice neutral. That was the thing about humiliation. It often arrived wrapped as customer service. I stared at the arm, then at the gap beneath it. "Don't bother," I said, and then I did something that would have looked ridiculous to anyone watching from a distance. I crouched and slid under it, suit jacket brushing damp concrete. the smell of dust and rain, my shoulder scraping the underside of the arm like it was a low ceiling in a bad dream. I stood up on the other side and dusted myself off like I hadn't just crawled out of my own marriage. Dale didn't stop me. He didn't have to. The point wasn't to trap me. The point was to show me they could. I got into my car, closed the door, took one long breath. The engine started on the first try, which felt like a small mercy the universe didn't deserve credit for. As I pulled away, I caught movement in my rearview mirror. Upper level of the parking deck, near the rail, two silhouettes, Calla and Briggs, not kissing, not touching, just standing close enough to share oxygen, watching me like you watch a dog you just kicked to see if it's still going to crawl back. Calla's face was unreadable from that distance, but Briggs lifted his hand in a small, casual wave. Like we were friends. Like we were civilized. I drove out into the rain and kept my speed normal because I refused to give them a chase scene they could laugh about. My phone buzzed at a red light. Unknown number. One message. Check your safe deposit. He knew. My thumb hovered over the screen. My first thought was that it was a scam. My second thought was that it wasn't, because there was only one he that mattered right now. Calla's father. The man who built VMS from a warehouse and a handshake. The man who used to look at me like I was the son he actually chose. The man who, apparently, had secrets even from his daughter. The light turned green. Cars honked behind me. Life demanded motion. I drove. But my mind stayed in that sentence like a hook in flesh. He knew. And suddenly, for the first time since the firing, I wasn't just hurt. I was curious. Because if her father knew what she was, and he still put her in the chair, then maybe the chair wasn't a gift. Maybe it was bait. I pulled onto the highway, rain streaking my windshield like the world was trying to wash something away. My phone buzzed again. Another text from the same number. Monday morning, emergency board meeting, don't be late. I laughed once, quietly, in my empty car. Not because it was funny, because it was. 4 days ago, I was her husband. 2 hours ago, I was her employee. Now, I was something else, something she hadn't accounted for. And the best part? She still thought she'd fired me. I tapped the steering wheel, eyes on the road, and said to nobody, "Okay, Calla." Then I smiled without warmth. "Let's have some fun." Saturday, 8:12 a.m. The bank smelled like disinfectant and old promises. You don't notice it when you're 20. When you're 30-something and your life is on fire, you notice everything. The fake plants, the security cameras that never blink, the cheerful posters about financial wellness that feel like they're mocking you personally. I stood at the counter with a ticket number in my hand, like I'd come to order a new identity. The unknown text kept replaying in my head. Check your safe deposit. He knew. If this was a prank, it was a cruel one. If it was real, it was the first honest thing anyone had given me all week. A woman in a gray suit appeared from a side door and said my name like she'd been expecting me. "Mr. Holt?" Her voice was calm, not warm, the kind of calm that comes from spending your life around documents that can ruin people. "Marion Klein," she said, extending her hand. I was counsel for Howard Varnum. Of course she was. Howard didn't do anything without a paper trail so clean it could pass a hospital inspection. I shook her hand. Her grip was firm, precise, like the rest of her. "I didn't know he had a lawyer on standby for my personal disaster," I said. Her mouth didn't smile, but something in her eyes did, like she appreciated sarcasm the way surgeons appreciate gallows humor. "He didn't," she replied. "He had a lawyer on standby for his disaster. You're just adjacent." Adjacent. That was the theme of my life lately. Close enough to get burned, not close enough to be told the truth. Marion led me through a door that required 2 separate badges and a code. We walked down a carpeted hallway that swallowed footsteps. Everything was designed to feel safe. Everything also felt like it could hide a body if the building ever got bored. A second door opened into a room with small booths and tiny metal drawers, safe deposit boxes, human secrets stored like library books. Marion stopped at one booth and set a folder on the counter. "Before we open anything," she said, "I need to confirm you understand what this is. There are instructions, there are conditions, and there are things you cannot unlearn." "I'm already married," I said. "I've been unlearning things for years." This time she almost smiled. Almost. Marion slid a form toward me. My signature looked too normal for what I felt, like my hand hadn't gotten the memo that my life was changing shape. She opened the box. The first thing I saw wasn't money. It wasn't diamonds. It wasn't a dramatic flash drive. It was a sealed envelope, thick and old-fashioned, with Howard Varnum's handwriting across the front. "Evan, if she fires you, it's already started." My throat tightened. It wasn't grief. It was recognition. The kind you feel when someone who's gone still knows you better than the person you sleep beside. I reached for it. Marion gently held up a finger. "Not yet." Of course. Even the apocalypse had procedure. She pulled out a second folder. Corporate documents. Tabbed, organized, the kind of neat that makes chaos feel temporary. "Howard set up an arrangement years ago," she said. "It's unusual, but valid." I stared at the tabs. Operating agreement. Share register. Escrow instructions. Beneficial ownership. My heart started doing that quiet, fast thing it does when your body realizes the world is about to tilt. "You're saying," I began. "I'm saying," Marion cut in, "that you are the beneficial owner of 65% of Varnum Medical Systems through a silent partnership Howard created." For a second, I genuinely forgot how to breathe. Like my lungs went on strike. "That's impossible," I said, even though the paper in front of me didn't look like it cared what I believed. Marion's eyes stayed steady. "It's unlikely. Those are different things." I leaned over the documents like they might evaporate if I didn't stare hard enough. "Why would he do that?" I asked. "Why not tell Calla?" Marion didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice had an edge that felt like someone trying not to say the worst part. "He didn't trust what would happen after he was gone," she said. "And he trusted you." That landed heavier than any insult Calla had thrown at me. Because Howard trusting me meant he suspected his own daughter, or he suspected what she might become with power and grief and the wrong man whispering in her ear. I swallowed. "Silent partnership means I can't— What? I can't vote?" Marion opened another page and pointed at a paragraph like she was showing me a surgical incision. "Under normal conditions, yes, non-voting, passive, you receive distributions, but you don't control decisions." "Normal conditions," I repeated. "And under abnormal?" She tapped the paper once, precise. "There is a conversion trigger." That word, trigger, shouldn't belong in a legal document. It belonged in a gun, in a trap, in a story that ends with someone screaming. My skin prickled. Marion turned a page. "If you are terminated without cause," she said, "within 30 days of Howard's passing, your interest converts, immediately, from silent to voting control." I stared at her. "That's—" I started. "Designed," Marion finished, "and filed, and witnessed." My mind went back to Calla's face yesterday, her rehearsed restructuring, her phone buzzing with B, the calm way she swung the axe, 4 days after her father passed away, not random, not impulsive, fast, planned, like someone needed me gone before I could stand in front of the board and remind them I wasn't furniture. My mouth went dry. "So she fired me," I said slowly, "and didn't know she pulled the pin." Marion watched me carefully, like she was assessing whether I was going to do something stupid. "I can't speak to what she knew," she said, "but I can speak to what Howard anticipated." I exhaled through my nose. A laugh tried to escape. It sounded wrong in this room, like laughter was contraband. My wife becomes CEO right after her father suddenly dies, I murmured. She fires me just 4 days later without explanation. Marian didn't react. She didn't need to. The paper reacted for her. I looked down again. The numbers didn't change. 65%. I owned most of the company, and my wife had just thrown me out like I was a broken stapler. The booth felt too small suddenly, like the air had been replaced with something thicker, something that made plans form in the dark corners of your mind. Marian slid the sealed envelope closer. "Now," she said. My fingers trembled once, just once. Then I gripped the envelope and broke the seal. The paper inside smelled faintly like Howard, aftershave, and old leather chairs. It was the kind of smell that makes you remember people are real, not just roles. The first line hit like a punch to the ribs. "Evan, if you're reading this, it means Calla chose speed over decency." My jaw clenched. I read the next line silently at first, then my eyes started moving faster, drinking it like water. Howard wrote about trust and pressure and what power does to people who think they deserve it. He wrote about Calla's brilliance and her blind spots. He wrote about men like Briggs, without using his name, because Howard didn't have to. He described him the way you describe mold. Not dramatic, just inevitable if you leave the wrong door open. Then my eyes snagged on a line that made my stomach drop. "Monday meeting, emergency session, is the moment they'll try to sell the company out from under you." I looked up. Marian's expression didn't change, but her gaze sharpened like she'd been waiting for me to reach that part. "They already called it?" I asked. "They called it late last night," she said. "The notice went out at 1:07 a.m. Of course it did. People who do bad things love early morning emails. They want you groggy when you read them. "And you're telling me," I said, "that my wife and her friend are moving to sell—" "I'm telling you," Marian corrected, "that paperwork was prepared. That's all I can say without speculation." Speculation. Another word that sounded too polite for the situation. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't check it right away. I had learned, painfully, that screens were where my life got worse. But Marian's eyes flicked toward it. "Answer it," she said. "If it's who I think it is, I'd like to observe." That made my spine go cold. I pulled the phone out. No caller ID, just a text. "Don't go to the meeting, you're not safe." And under it, one more message. "Dale isn't the only one watching you." I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. Marian leaned slightly, reading over my shoulder without touching. Respectful, controlled, like she knew every inch mattered. "Who has this number?" she asked. I shook my head. "Not Calla, not Briggs, not—" I stopped, because saying Dale's name out loud made it feel more real. Marian's voice stayed even. "We're leaving through the back." "Why?" I asked. "Because," she said, gathering the documents into the folder like she'd done it 1,000 times, "when people think they're about to lose control, they become energetic." I followed her out of the safe deposit room and down a different hallway that didn't have cheerful posters. This one had cameras and a locked door at the end. As we passed a mirrored column, I caught movement behind us. A reflection. A man standing too still near the lobby, pretending to read a pamphlet. Thick neck, calm eyes. Dale Mercer. My stomach tightened. "He's here," I whispered. Marian didn't look. She didn't need to. She'd seen enough men like Dale to feel them in the air. "Keep walking," she said. We pushed through the back door into a service alley that smelled like wet cardboard and exhaust. Rain spattered the pavement. My breath came out in white puffs. Marian pointed. "Your car?" "Row D," I said. "Go," she ordered. I moved fast without running. Running makes you look guilty. Running also makes men like Dale feel like they're winning. I reached my car, yanked the door open, and slid inside. The leather seat was cold enough to wake me up better than coffee. Marion got into the passenger side with the folder tight against her chest like it was a baby. "Start it," she said. I turned the key. The engine hesitated, just for half a second. That half second felt like an eternity. Then it caught, and the car came alive. In the rearview mirror, I saw Dale step into the alley mouth, not rushing, not panicking, just walking, steady, like a man who believed the world would make space for him. He lifted his phone to his ear. I didn't like that. "Seatbelt," Marion said calmly, like she was reminding me to chew my food. I pulled out of the row and headed toward the exit. The security arm was there again, a cousin of the one I crawled under yesterday, only this one had a keypad and a camera pointed right at my face. My badge didn't work here, because my badge didn't work anywhere anymore. I rolled down my window and punched the help button. A voice crackled. "Yes?" "This is Evan Holt," I said. "I'm exiting." Pause. The camera whirred slightly, adjusting. "Your account?" the voice began. And then Marion leaned across me, held up a business card, and said clearly into the speaker, "Marion Klein, counsel, open the gate." Silence. Then the arm lifted. Marion sat back like nothing had happened. I stared at her. "Do you just do that?" "I do paperwork," she said. "Sometimes paperwork does that." As we rolled toward the street, I saw Dale again, closer now, moving toward the car like he meant to stop it with his body if he had to. Not violently, just enough to create an incident, enough to call the police, enough to keep me out of Monday. My hands tightened on the wheel. "Left," Marion said. "There's a one-way." I started. "Left," she repeated. I turned left anyway. The tires hissed on wet pavement. The car lurched into a narrow lane between the bank and a row of dumpsters. My heart hammered. My brain tried to be funny to keep me from braking. "Congratulations, Evan," I thought. "You're now the kind of man who knows dumpsters intimately." In the side mirror, Dale stopped at the alley mouth and watched us disappear. He didn't chase on foot. He didn't have to. He just watched like a man who believed the city belonged to him. We reached the street and merged into traffic. For 3 blocks, things felt normal, the kind of normal that makes you suspicious. Then I saw it, a dark SUV, 2 cars back, sliding into the same lane every time I changed. I changed lanes again. It changed too. My pulse jumped. Marion didn't look back. She just opened the folder on her lap. "Don't do anything dramatic," she said. "I wasn't planning to," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "That's more of Calla's genre." She flipped to a page and pointed without looking up. "There's a diner 2 minutes ahead," she said. "Pull in. We need one more thing." "One more thing," I echoed. "Sure. Why not? My life's already a checklist." I turned into the diner lot. The SUV turned too. My stomach sank, but it didn't park behind us. It rolled past, slow like it was tasting the moment, then continued toward the road. A warning, not an attack. Yet. I parked, hands still gripping the wheel like it was the last stable object in my life. Marion closed the folder. "Now," she said, "you call Ruth Sager." I blinked. "Ruth? The director?" Marion nodded. "She's the only one on that board who still believes in gravity. Everyone else is floating." I hesitated. "Why would she help me?" Marion's gaze finally met mine. "Because she knows Howard," she said, "and because she's already heard the gossip. They're painting you as unstable. If we don't anchor the truth before Monday, you'll walk into that room already convicted." I pulled out my phone and found Ruth's number, the one I'd saved years ago and never used because I believed my wife and my job were permanent. I hit call. It rang twice. Then Ruth answered, voice dry and sharp. "Evan," she said. "I was wondering how long it would take before you stopped being polite." I swallowed. "Ruth," I said, I know," she cut in. You need me to tell you you're not crazy. I stared at the rain streaking the windshield. Well? I asked. Ruth exhaled. You're not crazy. My chest loosened just a little. Then she said the sentence that made me go cold all over again. They scheduled an emergency board meeting for Monday morning, she said. And I saw the packet. Evan, they're trying to move assets fast, too fast, like they're racing a clock. My grip tightened. Marion's eyes didn't change, but her jaw set like a lock. Ruth continued, voice lower now. And Dale Mercer? He's been asking questions about you, not security questions, personal ones. I closed my eyes for a second. Ruth, I said carefully, who else is watching me? A pause. The kind of pause that means someone's choosing words to keep you alive. I don't know, Ruth admitted, but I know this. Calla isn't driving this alone. I opened my eyes. Marion's hand slid the sealed envelope back toward me, the one I'd opened, the letter folded inside like a blade. Tell her, Marion mouthed silently. I spoke into the phone. Ruth, I said, voice steady, I need you at that meeting, and I need you to listen, not react. Ruth gave a humorless laugh. Evan, I'm 72. Reacting is behind me. I almost smiled. Almost. Then Ruth said quietly, whatever you think you're about to do it clean, because if you don't, they'll bury you in procedure and call it justice. I looked at Marion. Clean, I repeated. That's all I know how to do, I said. Ruth hung up. Marion leaned back in the booth, finally letting herself breathe like a human. Okay, I said. What now? Marion's answer was simple. Now, she said, we prepare for Monday. I stared at the folder again, at the word 65%, at the trigger clause, at the father's handwriting. My phone buzzed once more. Unknown number. One line, they're coming to your house next. I froze. Marion watched my face and didn't ask. She didn't need to, because in my silence, she saw it. The shift, the moment a man stops being confused and starts being dangerous. I looked out the diner window at the wet parking lot, at the slow-moving cars, at the gray world pretending nothing was happening. Then I said, softly, like I was telling a joke to keep from screaming, great. And I felt my smile sharpen. Let's make sure they arrive to the wrong welcome. Saturday night. Marion's office was quiet in the way only legal spaces are, soundproofed, deliberate, built for damage control. Only 4 of us existed in that room now. Me, Marion, Calla, Briggs. Even though Calla and Briggs were there only by proxy, living inside the letter in my hands. I reread the key line out loud, slower this time. If Calla terminates Evan Holt without cause within 30 days of my passing, voting control converts immediately. I looked up. So she didn't just fire me? I said. She armed me. Marion nodded. Howard assumed grief, plus ambition, plus the wrong influence would lead to speed. Speed makes mistakes. That tracked. Calla had always hated waiting. She confused momentum with intelligence. My phone buzzed. This time it was Calla. I answered. Where are you? She asked. Calm. Too calm. Out, I said. Thinking. You should stop, she replied. People are saying things. I smiled. People always do. A pause. Then Briggs's voice slid in, low and confident, like he owned the line. Evan, don't make this worse than it already is. There it was. The lover stepping into the husband's space without permission. I'm not, I said. I'm making it accurate. Silence. Then Calla again, sharper now. You're not invited to the meeting Monday. I glanced at Marion. She shook her head once. Let her talk. I'll be there, I said. You might want to read Dad's paperwork again. Her breath caught, just for a fraction of a second. You don't know what you're talking about, Calla snapped. I know exactly, I said. That's the problem. The line went silent. Marian folded her hands. They'll escalate now. Good, I said. I was worried they wouldn't. She studied me. You understand what happens if you win this? Yes, I said. I become the villain in her story. Marian tilted her head. And in yours? I thought of the parking deck, the badge reader, the ring turned inward. I already am, I said. My phone buzzed again. New message, unknown number. Briggs is trying to provoke you. Don't take the bait. I exhaled slowly. Outside, thunder rolled, distant, restrained, like something clearing its throat. I stood, straightened my jacket, and picked up the folder with my name on it. Monday, I said. They think it's a sale. Marian nodded. And you? I think, I replied, it's an execution. I paused at the door, then added, just not mine. Cliffhanger. As I stepped into the hallway, my phone lit up one last time, a calendar invite forwarded anonymously. Monday, 8 a.m. Agenda item, number 2, asset liquidation. I smiled. They were racing the clock. They just didn't know the clock belonged to me. Sunday afternoon. The city moved like nothing was wrong, which is how pressure always works. It hides in routine. 4 people mattered today. Me, Ruth Sager, Dale Mercer, Briggs Lorne. Ruth met me in a quiet donor lounge off the hospital campus. No cameras, no speeches, just coffee that tasted like regret. They're calling you unstable, she said flatly. Emotionally compromised, dangerous word choice. Of course, I replied. It's cheaper than the truth. Ruth leaned closer. Briggs is pushing it. Too fast, too visible. That's not confidence. That's fear. As if summoned, Briggs appeared across the room, phone to his ear, smiling like a man practicing innocence. He saw me, didn't wave this time. Dale showed up 10 minutes later. Same calm eyes, same measured steps. He didn't threaten. He didn't need to. I'm just making sure everyone's safe, he said. Funny, I answered. I was thinking the same thing. Outside, the parking deck swallowed sound, concrete, echo, fluorescent lights, yesterday replaying itself. Briggs stepped into my path. You should leave town, he said quietly. For your own good. I smiled, slow. You first. His jaw tightened. Dale shifted his weight, a moment where one wrong move would give them exactly what they wanted. I stepped around them instead. No shove, no scene, just absence. Behind me, Briggs snapped, "This isn't over." I didn't turn back, because Sunday wasn't for fighting. Sunday was for letting them think they were winning. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. A message from Ruth. Board packet confirmed. They're moving assets at 8:15. I sat in the driver's seat, engine off, listening to the deck breathe. Monday wasn't about revenge yet. Monday was about timing, and they were standing in the wrong minute. Sunday night. Late enough that mistakes felt justified. 4 people in play now. Me, Briggs Lorne, Dale Mercer, Marian Klein. Marian was clear, almost gentle. No crimes, no theatrics, just pressure where it already exists. Briggs lived in a luxury condo with rules longer than the Bible and a garage designed by people who hated inconvenience. Reserved spots, fire lanes, signs everywhere no one ever reads. Except tonight, I read them. Briggs parked like he owned the city, half in a restricted emergency lane, nose just past the red line. He did it because no one ever corrected him. I didn't touch his car, I didn't scratch it, I didn't even look guilty. I made one call to the property manager, calm, factual, bylaw compliant. 20 minutes later, the boot went on, not dramatic, just metal snapping into place like punctuation. Briggs came down right on time, phone pressed to his ear, confidence already halfway through a sentence. Then he saw it. The color drained from his face in a way money can't fix. "What the hell is this?" he snapped, scanning the garage like someone might applaud. No one did. He kicked the tire once, too hard, immediate regret, then looked around, suddenly aware of cameras, rules, witnesses. That's when he saw me. Across the garage, not hiding, not smiling, just watching. His eyes narrowed. You did this. I shrugged. You parked illegally. He stepped closer, voice low. You think this scares me? No, I said. I think it distracts you. Dale appeared near the elevators, already moving, already too late. Briggs's phone buzzed again. Calla's name this time. He answered, pacing, voice sharp with panic. If Monday happens, we're finished. Finished. He said it out loud. I turned and walked away before Dale could say anything official. In my car, I sat for a moment longer than necessary, because revenge doesn't start with explosions. It starts with inconvenience. And for the first time since Friday, I knew something for sure. Briggs wasn't in control anymore. Cliffhanger. As I drove off, my phone buzzed. Marion's message, short and surgical. Boardroom access confirmed. Monday, 6:40 a.m., be ready. I was. They just didn't know what for. The executive entrance looked the same as always. Glass, steel, calm, pretending nothing inside could bleed. 4 people mattered now. Me, Calla, Dale, Ruth. Calla was already there, heels planted like she owned gravity. Black suit, CEO posture, no wedding ring this time. That felt intentional. You're not authorized to be here, she said before I could open my mouth. Morning, I replied. You look rested. Dale stepped slightly in front of her. Not blocking, measuring. I'll need you to leave, sir, he said. Per instruction. I nodded. Before or after the meeting? Calla's jaw tightened. There is no meeting for you. Ruth appeared from the elevator, folder under her arm, eyes sharp as broken glass. That's not how it works, she said. If he's claiming beneficial ownership, procedure requires... Calla cut her off. This is internal. Ruth didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. So is a lawsuit. That landed. People were watching now. Assistants pretending not to. Executives pretending harder. Dale hesitated. A half second. Enough. I stepped forward and placed Marion's document envelope on the security desk. Check the bylaws, I said calmly. Then decide who you're escorting. Dale didn't touch the envelope. He looked at Calla instead. For the first time, she looked uncertain. The boardroom doors opened down the hall. Ruth gestured. Let's not embarrass the company. Calla stared at me like she was seeing a stranger in her house. I leaned in just enough for only her to hear. You should have waited, I said. Your father did. She flinched. That was all I needed. Cliffhanger. As we walked toward the boardroom, Calla whispered, barely audible. You have no idea what you're starting. I smiled, eyes forward. Oh, I said. I do. The boardroom smelled like coffee and panic. 4 people in the room now. Me, Calla, Briggs, Marion. Briggs was already seated, jacket off, confidence rehearsed. He looked annoyed more than worried, which told me everything I needed to know. Men like him don't believe in consequences until they hear them read aloud. Marion stood, calm as a surgeon. Before agenda item 1, she said, there's a procedural matter. Calla opened her mouth. Marion didn't let her. Effective immediately, Marion continued. Evan Holt's beneficial ownership converts to voting control due to termination without cause within the defined period. Silence. Thick. Heavy. Briggs laughed once. Too loud. That's not real. Marion slid one document across the table, then another. It's filed, she said. Witnessed. Escrowed. Valid. Calla's face drained slowly, like someone realizing the floor plan was a lie. You planned this, she said to me. No, I replied. Your father did. Briggs leaned forward, eyes sharp. This is about jealousy. He's unstable. Ruth's voice came from the far end of the table, quiet, lethal. Then explain why you never disclosed your relationship. That was the crack. Briggs froze. Calla turned to him, disbelief breaking through control. What relationship? She snapped. No one answered. They didn't have to. Marion spoke again. Per company policy, undisclosed executive relationships constitute a breach. Severance protections are void. Briggs stood up too fast. You can't do this. I looked at him. Really looked. We already did, I said. Calla's hands shook, just slightly. The vote happened fast after that. Clean, procedural. Ruth didn't look at Calla when she raised her hand. Neither did anyone else. Cliffhanger. I stood as security stepped in and said the words slowly, clearly. Escort them out. And somewhere behind us, in the parking deck below, metal clanked, like a tow chain locking into place. The hallway outside the boardroom was too bright. Fluorescent lights have a way of turning everyone into a suspect. 4 people left in this story now. Me, Calla, Briggs, Dale. Security didn't rush. They never do. They just arrive, and suddenly the future narrows. Calla's composure cracked first. You can't do this, she said, voice sharp, almost pleading. This is my company. I shook my head once. Small movement. Final. It was, I said. You spent it. Briggs tried anger instead. He always did. This is harassment, he snapped. You're ruining my life. That's dramatic, I replied. I just stopped protecting it. Dale stepped in then, not toward me, but toward them, professional, neutral, decision made. Sir, ma'am, he said. This way. That was the moment Calla understood. Not when the vote passed, not when Marion spoke, now. When the man she thought was hers chose procedure over loyalty. She turned to me, eyes wet, furious. You planned this. I leaned closer, just enough. No, I said quietly. I survived it. The elevator doors closed on them. I walked to the parking deck alone, concrete, echo, same place it started. Briggs's car was already halfway onto the flatbed, the boot still on, tow chain tight, final. He burst out of the elevator shouting, phone in hand, suit ruined by panic. Stop! That's my car! No one stopped. The truck pulled forward. Tires rolled. Something expensive disappeared into the morning. Briggs looked at me then. Really looked. And for the first time he was afraid. I met his eyes and said nothing, because revenge doesn't need speeches. Behind us, the boardroom doors locked. In front of us, the truck turned the corner and vanished. I checked my watch. 8:17 a.m. Right on schedule. Right. And that's where I left them, standing in the wrong place, at the wrong time, finally understanding who they fired.